listen every night on his bed made of clouds, and he'd look down, and he'd listen to the stories. But one day, he decided the people had gotten too powerful, and he wanted those stories. So that night, after everyone was asleep, he crept down out of the skyland, and he gathered the stories from the children and the big kids and the grandparents and the parents. He went to the trees and the rivers and the mountains and the animals, and he gathered all the stories, and he put them in a beautiful golden box and took them back up to the skyland. Well, the next morning, everyone woke up and they started walking around, but something was different. Their eyes were glazed over and blank, and they weren't smiling. Everybody walked around, but nobody knew what was wrong, except for Anansi. Now, Anansi was the Spider-Man, and he was a little bit magic. And he knew right away the stories were gone, and he went to the children and he said, "Where are the stories?" They said, "What are stories?" And they went to the big kids, "Where are the stories?" And they said, "What are stories?" No, everyone had forgotten what the stories were. He went to the trees and asked for the stories, and they shook their leaves and said, "What are stories?" Now Anansi knew there was only one person who could take these stories, and that was Anansi, the sky god. And because he was a little bit magic, Anansi, he spun a beautiful ladder all the way up to the skyland. Something like this. It went, and actually it went like this. And he got to the top, and he called for Naomi. Now, my voice isn't loud enough, so I need your help to help me call Naomi, the sky god, because the skyland is huge. Can you help me? I'll start. It goes like this. We'll go, Naomi. Can you help me now? Naomi. Oh, that's good. Let's do it so loud that it frightens the people upstairs. All right? Naomi. That's good. And over here, Naomi said, "Come this way, brother." And so Anansi went over. And he walked up to the sky god, and the sky god laughed when he saw this little small man. Can you laugh like a sky god would laugh? He said, "What are you, a man so small, so small, so small, coming to me to ask me for something?" And Anansi said, "What will be, but we want our stories back." And Naomi laughed. Give me another laugh. To get your stories back, you're going to have to bring me 3 things. You're going to have to bring me a sable, the leopard with the terrible teeth. And you're going to have to bring me Mamboro, the hornets that sting like fire. And you're going to have to bring me Mamosha, the fairy that men never see. Anansi bowed and said, "What will be, will be." And he went back down his ladder to the land below. And he went looking for Osebo, the leopard with the terrible teeth. And he walked through the jungle, and there was Osebo. And Osebo said, "I'm very glad to see you, Anansi. You are just in time to be my lunch." And Anansi said, "We will see what we will see, but first let us play the binding game." For he knew that Osebo loved to play games more than anything else. "I will take this vine, and I will tie you foot by foot by foot by foot, and then I will untie you, and then you will tie me up." Well, thought Osebo, when it's my turn to tie up the Spider-Man, Anansi, I will have him for my lunch. So Anansi took a vine, and he tied the leopard foot by foot by foot by foot. But because he was a trickster, he did not untie him. And he said, "Now, Osebo, you are ready to go meet the sky god." And off he went to find the hornets that sting like fire. And on the way, he took a gourd. You know what a gourd is? It's a beautiful little plant that you can hollow out and put water in. And he put water in it, and he took off a big banana leaf, and he held it over his head. And he went to the nest of Momboro, and he sprinkled water from the gourd onto the nest. And he sprinkled it on the banana leaf. And he said, Momboros, hornets, come out. A terrible, terrible storm is coming. It will tatter your wings. It will ruin your nest. Fly into my gourd, and I will keep you safe. And out came the hornets, and into the gourd. And then Anansi took some leaves and put it in the top to keep them in there. He tied it with a vine and hung it in the tree and said, now you are ready to meet the sky god. And off he went to find, do you remember who he has to find?
Sky god.
He has to find, what's the third thing he has to find? The fairy that men never see, Mamosha. And pretty soon, walked along and he saw where Mamosha might be. And he took a beautiful log and he carved it into a doll. And he put the doll on the ground, right underneath a tree that the fairy liked. And then he took a bowl and he put it in the doll's lap. And in it he put pounded sweet potatoes, which the fairies love to eat better than anything else in the whole world. And finally he took a vine and tied it around the doll's neck and put the other end in the bushes. And he went to hide in the bushes and he waited for the fairy. And pretty soon, what did he hear? Here comes the fairy. When she saw the doll and the yams, oh, she was pretty pleased because she was so hungry. She said, Doll, can I have some of those little sweet potato yams? The doll sat there, but in the bushes, Anansi pulled on the vine, and the doll's head seemed to nod. And she sat down and took the bowl, and she ate up all the sweet potatoes. And when she was done, she put it back. Now, Anansi, remember, he is a trickster. And what he did is he had covered that doll with the sticky latex gum from the latex tree. And then the fairy said, aren't you going to say, you're welcome to me when I say thank you? And the doll just sat there. Well, the fairy got madder, and she got madder. Aren't you going to say something? Aren't you going to say something? The doll just sat there. Oh, said the fairy, if you don't say something, I'm going to shake you. And she reached out and she grabbed hold of that doll's shoulder that was all sticky with the latex gum, and she shook it, but her hand wouldn't come free. Oh, if you don't let go of my hand, if you don't let go of my hand, I'm going to shake you again. And she shook her again, and now both hands were stuck. And then she took one foot to push, and the other foot to push, and now she was stuck in all four places. Well, then Anansi came out from his hiding place and said, now, Mamosha, you are ready to meet the sky god. And because he was a trickster, he wove a beautiful spiderweb bag, and in it he gently put the fairy. And then he went and got the hornets and gently put them in. And then he got the leopard, and he gently put the leopard in the bag. He drew it up, closed it, and put it over his shoulders, and went to meet the sky god, and he climbed up the ladder. And then he called, when he got up there, he said, Naame! He couldn't hear that. Can you help me? Naame! And Naame said, over here, brother. And as Anansi approached, Naame was laughing. Ho, 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 because he thought that the Spider-Man could not have gotten the three things. But when he saw the bag laid before him, he stopped laughing. Anansi opened the bag and untied the feet of the leopard, and the leopard shot off into the jungle of the Skyland. And then he unstopped the gourd, and out flew the hornets. And then he unstuck the hands and feet of the Mamosha, the fairy, and she scattered off into the brush. Naame said, oh, Anansi, you are quite a man for a man so small, so small, so small. And he handed him the box of stories. Well, Anansi took the stories and went down the ladder once again. Let's see if I get this right. And now it was nighttime. It was dark. All the people were sitting around the campfire, staring straight ahead. He took the box right to the middle of the ring of people and laid it down. And slowly he opened the box. and out shot the stories. They went into the people's eyes and hearts and minds. They filled the village. They went into the trees and the rivers and the mountains and the animals. They spread across the ocean. They spread all the way across the United States. They spread right to Missoula, Montana, and they spread right into you, and those stories are in you now. And that's the end of Anansi and Lost Stories.
We live in Montana.
Thanks. We do, and those stories are here around us. Those stories that have middles and beginnings and endings. I think it's called This Pretty Planet. And they say if you can walk, you can dance. If you can talk, you can sing. So we're stretching. I'm really going to stretch that one here, because singing is not my main thing. But okay, goes like this. This pretty planet spinning through space. Our garden, our harbor, our holy or special place. Golden, sun going down, gentle blue, giant, spin us around. All through the night. This is the sun coming down. Safe till the morning light. Have the sun come up? Okay? We'll do it real slowly, and I'll sing the song, okay? This pretty planet spinning through space, our garden, our harbor, our holy place. Golden sun going down, gentle blue giant, spin us around, all through the night, safe till the morning light. Good. All right, let's all sit and we'll have one short